Well, as you think about this next phase of your career, what does success look like?
What I have been occupied since writing Grit, and certainly for the last few years in earnest, is a second book and a second line of work. And it is on the power of the situation. So, in a few words, grit is not enough. Right. And if you give me more words, you're like, oh, Angela, your one liner can be a little longer. You can even have a semicolon. I would say, okay, Jeff, how about this? Grit is not enough. You must have your situation as your ally. And what I'm obsessed about is something that psychologists, in a way, it's like telling a chef that, you need to make sure you have to put enough salt and fat into a dish. It's like the chefs are like, yeah, we know that. It's elementary. But I feel like that about how this power of the situation narrative is blindingly obvious to psychological scientists, but maybe not to those of us who are just navigating our everyday lives. When I was growing up, and Jeff, you kind of navigated me through my life history. So much of what I accomplished was really trying harder. Like sitting there in my BC calculus class, and I'm like, I know that Darshak got it faster, and Chan Kim got it faster, but they can't outwork me. Like, I am going to learn BC calculus, right? And I felt like that for, 40 years. And even in my own marriage, I thought to myself, wow, my husband, I mentioned, is a real estate developer. Well, if you put two and two together, you realize he was a young real estate developer in 2008, right? And it was a very, very stressful time. He was working some weeks 100 hours a week. I was on tenure track at an Ivy League institution. We had two young children who had to be taken care of. There was so much stress, and the only trick I knew was try harder. The only trick I knew was grit. I was like, I'm going to wake up earlier. I'm going to stay up later. I am going to use every ounce of my will to make the life that I need to make for my children and my husband and my career. And I'll tell you that led to a real crisis. It almost broke our marriage. There were just an unbelievable number of therapy hours that we logged trying to rescue ourselves from the precipice. And what has struck me now, and what I'm writing about, is that grit is not enough. You need a situation. We needed therapy. We needed our parents to actually step in and basically talk some sense into us about, our naive understanding of relationships and what a marriage really is. We needed to reach out to our friends and actually be vulnerable and not just have small talk, but actually tell them that we were in crisis. He needed to change his work situation. He has an advisory board now of mentors who, kind of help him prioritize in ways that he would never be able to do on his own. I reached out to mentors to, help me figure out my research program and help me accomplish it in more effective ways. And so to me, grit is great, but grit is not enough. And you absolutely need to make your situation your ally if you're ever going to, run the marathon of success.
There's almost the myth of the lone entrepreneur working late into the night. It's almost part of the hero's mythical journey. Yet what I'm hearing you say is that myth should be actually a myth. The reality is the highest achievers have that grit, have that work ethic, but they're building a community to help them get wherever they're going. Is that the right way to think about it?
It is. I mean, remember, even Luke Skywalker needed Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? And many others. The modern day Luke Skywalker for me is Diana Nyad, right? And this is the amazing woman who swam from Cuba to the shores of Florida, a feat that had never been done without a shark cage. I mean, amazing. And completely a story of grit. And at the same time, on her last and successful attempt that she had made, after decades of trying and failing to do this, she heaves herself onto shore and she says this, and I'm going to quote you, I'm going to read it to you so I don't get it wrong. She says, I have 3 messages. 1 is, we should never give up. 2 is, you're never too old to chase your dreams. And 3 is, it looks like a solitary sport, but it takes a team.